Vladimir Putin spoke at the plenary session of the 10th BRICS Parliamentary Forum. V. Putin, Dear Valentina Ivanovna. Dear Vyacheslav Viktorovich. Dear friends. Dear guests. I am pleased to welcome all participants and organizers of the 10th Jubilee BRICS Parliamentary Forum. Here in this hall, we also have our esteemed guest, the chairperson of the Interparliamentary Union, Ms. Tulia Exon. Dear Ms. Exon, we see your participation in the forum as a sign of support for the constructive partnership of legislative representatives from the countries of the Global South and East, as well as all countries interested in constructive interaction and cooperation, and their initiatives on current international issues. The theme of this forum, the role of parliaments in strengthening multilateralism for fair global development and security, is exceptionally important. It speaks for itself, emphasizing the nature of the global, fundamental transformations happening on our planet today. Your open discussions and direct conversations with each other are in full harmony with the philosophy and principles of our organization. This includes taking into account each other's interests, relying on democracy in international relations, respecting sovereignty and the right to unique development for everyone. These BRICS principles are close and understandable to all participants in our rapidly growing association, which is gaining a qualitatively new level of influence on world events. I reiterate, today parliamentary dialogue, including within BRICS, is more important than ever. As representatives of your people's interests, expressing their political and national will, you keenly sense the true demands, moods, and needs of millions, without exaggeration, even billions of people on our planet. I am confident you will make a significant contribution to addressing the socio-economic development issues of BRICS countries, improving the welfare of our peoples. And, of course, you will do everything possible to reduce international tensions, and to form a fairer, more democratic, multipolar, and multilateral world order. We well understand that the establishment of a world order reflecting the real balance of power, the new geopolitical, economic, and demographic reality is a complex process and, unfortunately, often painful. Primarily because the efforts of BRICS participants and other developing countries encounter fierce resistance from the ruling elites of the so-called Golden Billion states. Acting contrary to historical logic and often even to the detriment of their long-term interests, they strive today to establish some order based on their so-called rules, which no one has seen, discussed, or ever accepted. Such rules are written or adjusted each time anew for each situation in the interests of those who consider themselves exceptional and have appropriated the right to dictate their will to others. Directly in the best traditions of classical colonialism. This is a clear attempt to replace legitimate international law, an attempt to create a monopoly on truth as the final authority, and such a monopoly is destructive. Pressure is increasing on everyone who has their own position. Contrary to the principles of international law, forceful coercion, unilateral sanctions, selective application of trade rules, and blackmail are used. We also see attempts to limit direct contacts between legislators, which contradicts the principle of free interparliamentary cooperation, the sovereign right of official representatives of each state to defend its national interests. Therefore, the importance and demand for the collective work of people's representatives on the constructive agenda of our association have now increased manifold. I remind you that the main goal of Russia's current presidency in the association is to create the most favorable conditions for the progressive development of all its participants. I am convinced that by acting together, cohesively, we can achieve the maximum realization of the economic, investment, technological, and human potential of our countries, strengthen the constructive influence of BRICS on world processes, and make the world we live in safer and much more harmonious. From this year, the number of participants in our association has increased to 10. Each state is unique, carrying ancient culture and traditions, implementing its model of socio-economic and political development. Russia is making every effort to effectively integrate the new members into all its multifaceted mechanisms. I have repeatedly noted that BRICS is one of the key elements of the emerging multipolar world order, increasingly reflecting the interests and aspirations of the states of the Global South and East, and our supporters worldwide, and their number is very large and constantly growing. We are open to strengthening interaction with all countries expressing interest in BRICS activities, actively engaging in dialogue in the BRICS Plus/outreach format, and working on establishing the category of partner states. One of the priorities of the association is achieving positive changes in the global economy. We pay great attention to increasing the share of national currencies in trade and investments, as well as developing safe and reliable financial instruments and mechanisms for mutual settlements. Establishing humanitarian contacts also plays a special role in building more trusting, strong, and long-term relationships between states. Taking this opportunity, I would like to invite you, dear colleagues, friends, to Russia, to St. Petersburg, for the 10th Jubilee St. Petersburg International Cultural Forum, which will take place from September 12 to 14. Traditionally, this is always a substantial and open discussion on the most important issues of the global cultural and humanitarian agenda, and our northern capital, where we are now, St. Petersburg, will once again be delighted to welcome guests from the countries of our association and all states striving for cooperation with each other. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, we have crossed the midpoint of Russia's presidency in BRICS. Continuous work is ongoing in all areas of interaction: politics and security, economy and finance, cultural and humanitarian ties, as I just mentioned. For instance, a regular cooperation mechanism in the transport sector and nuclear medicine has been launched. The BRICS Games were successfully held, with athletes from 82 countries participating, and 387 sets of medals awarded. We intend to continue increasing the pace of work. Until the BRICS Summit in October, we have many diverse events planned. I repeat, openness, fairness, and equality are the principles that unite BRICS countries. The role of parliamentary forums and conferences in establishing these principles in world politics is truly enormous. Yes, BRICS does not yet have its own institutionalized parliamentary structure, but I believe that in the future, this idea will certainly be realized. And your forum, I am confident, will contribute to this. The main thing is that such meetings have already established themselves as examples of trust, mutual support, and free dialogue, strengthening the authority of the organization itself and its influence in the world. Allow me to wish you successful and productive work. And of course, I think you will have time to admire St. Petersburg. It is the pride of Russia and undoubtedly a heritage of all humanity. All the best to you and thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.